thank you for joining us here at Stagen's annual reunion, really. Thank you for gathering together here as a community. Really, truly, thank you. And I do care a lot about who you are, and I care a lot about who we can be together. And in the time allotted to me, and maybe just a scoosh more, we don't know yet, in that time, I would like to see if we could explore that together. The importance of community, how we relate with one another, who we are to each other, how we take care of each other. And of course, I would like to connect that to the theme of this year's reunion, Shaping the Future, and I feel like they are connected. This is not an artificial thing, right? The importance of community and shaping the future go together. Of course they do, like strawberries and chocolate, like peanut butter and chocolate, like something, I guess we all love chocolate, like something and chocolate. They go together, right? So I'm going to start with some brief reflections on the theme, and then I'm going to move into community. I'm going to hope to integrate them together, and we're going to see what happens. So the theme is shaping the future, and I would like to add, and I would like to invite you to follow me. We'll see if you do or not. That's up to you. It's shaping the future as a profound act of service. It's not just shaping the future. It's please shaping the future as a profound act of service. The service that you most truly belong to, that you're most truly called to. And I think if we're going to do that, minimally, we have to appreciate the value of all three dimensions of time: the past, the present, and the future. They're all good. So I think that the value of the future, right, is just like blindingly obvious in the theme, in the declaration. There it is. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. The value of the present moment, part of the value, I don't want to reduce it to only this, part of the value of the present moment is at least, but not merely, that this is the place, the only place where we can commit ourselves to doing the work of shaping the future as a profound act of service. And again, the value of the past, at least, but not merely, is that the past is the raw material, and it's more than that. The past is your inheritance. The past is your inheritance as the legacy of our ancestors. So let's find a way to value that. That is what we work with in the present moment, committing ourselves to shaping the future as a profound act of service. Now, sometimes people feel like, I hope maybe nobody in the room, but sometimes you might know somebody asking for a friend who says, well, the past doesn't really matter. The past might not even really be real. So, if you have ever stubbed your toe, I hope moments later it will be blindingly obvious to you that the past still matters. And the past will continue to matter, lingering into the future. And more seriously, if you've ever had surgery, a surgery you needed to recover from, if you've ever cared about anyone who had a surgery they needed to recover from, then you will know in a blindingly obvious way that the past continues to matter and continues to affect the present. And so it's valuable. We need to receive our inheritance from the past, then work skillfully with it, working skillfully in the present moment with the present moment's possibilities and potentials in order to offer a legacy into the future, a legacy that shapes the future as a profound act of service, right? So this is a brief summary, just trying to value all three dimensions of time if we're going to commit ourselves to the work of shaping the future. The work of shaping the future as a profound act of service. And when I say the work, it catches in my throat a little bit. It's like a little bit of a bee in my bonnet because I want to say work in the way that Robert Frost said work when he said, only when love and need are one, only when love and need are one, and the work is play for mortal stakes. Only when the work is play for mortal stakes is the deed ever really done for heaven and the future stakes. What a great way, poetic way, I think, to express the theme of the reunion, right? So, if we're going to commit ourselves to that work, that working play of shaping the future as a profound act of service, I think it's important to appreciate that connection, the vital connection to community. And there's a very short and simple saying, a wisdom saying that I first received from Seth Braun. He works with us here. He's backstage somewhere in Stagen's leadership team. And it just goes like this: only you can do the work, and no one can do it alone. Only you can do the work, and no one can do it alone. The importance of community. The importance of community if we're going to commit ourselves to this working play. And I'd like to linger here to elaborate just for a moment the importance of community with two reflections. Only you can do this working play, and none of you can do it alone. None of us can do it alone. None of us can do alone the thing that only we can do, shaping the future as a profound act of service. So the first reflection is a conversation between two companions. You know these folks well, right? Big Panda says to Tiny Dragon, you know these guys, right? Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. And Big Panda says, what's more important, the destination or the journey? That's a good question. You may have wondered that. In your life, what's more important, the destination or the journey? And Tiny Dragon says, it's the company. It's the company. It's those you travel with. As important as the destination is, and it's important, as important as the journey is, and it's important, what's even more important is the company, is those you travel with. Only you can do the work, and none of us can do it alone. And the second reflection, I love very much, it's from Doctor Who, so positioning statement, but it's true. Doctor Who is the longest-running continuous TV show in the history of the human race, like for our whole species, as far as we know, unless we lost a civilization to an asteroid somewhere. So the protagonist, the main character in the show, is a time-traveling do-gooder, and he asks in one of the episodes, if you were going to cross the universe, what would you need? And just for a moment, let's just think about crossing the universe of a single life, your life. What do you need to cross the expanse of the universe that is the single life that is your life? But this is sci-fi, right? So it's also the universe. And so he says, well, the first thing is you're going to need a warp drive. I mean, you guys knew that, right? You're going to need a warp drive. He's like, and then probably a wormhole refractor. Going to definitely need a wormhole refractor. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry. None of those things are the most important. You may need them, but they're not what's most important. And if you're going to do this, if you're going to try to cross the expanse of the universe that is the single lifetime that is yours to live, you need to know what's most important. And what's most important is you need a hand to hold. You need a hand to hold. The importance of community. And so, with that in mind, I want to put the last bit on the table. There's a saying from the early practitioners in Plato's Academy. I think it brings all this together. It says, civilizations grow great. If we're shaping the future as a profound act of service, hopefully that will be good for our civilization, right? It will do something. It will build something. Something will flourish. Civilizations grow great when they are populated by people who are willing to plant trees in whose shade they will never sit. Civilizations grow great when they are populated by people who are willing to plant trees in whose shade they will never sit. Wow. Yeah. So that's also the theme of the reunion. That's what it means. Who are those people? That's amazing. You could be that person. I hope you are that person. I hope we are those people together in community. You know, I think it was Margaret Mead who said, never doubt that a small group of committed individuals committed in this way can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. But not everyone is committed in this way, right? Jay, who is the COO at Stagen, was saying this to me. He's like, well, not everybody does this. Not everybody wants to do this. Right. So who are the people that want to do this? Who would we have to be? What would it ask of us to be the person who could do this? And it's simple, and it might be a little uncomfortable. And the answer from these early people in Plato's Academy is, you have to be someone who knows what the profound treasure of being loved is. You have to be participating in the profound treasure of being loved. Because if that's happening, then you know that what is most important, what is best, what is most important, is safeguarding and preserving the continuation of that profound treasure of being loved. So now I could say here, right, shaping the future as a profound act of service that safeguards and shares the treasure of being loved, because that is what you are participating in. This is not trivial or weak sentimentality, please. This is the most robust and rewarding energy imaginable. It's the most robust and rewarding endeavor possible to participate in, I believe, deeply, really. So I'm going to close with a story to try to illustrate this very briefly. I was young, I was stubborn, I was disagreeable, I was walking late at night in a place I should never have been, and I was walking with my girlfriend, Shiloh. And from the right of me, kind of out of the shadows of an alleyway, someone sort of rushed up and then, thank God, rushed by us. And there was kind of a violent, strange outburst as they passed by. It was very surprising, it was very shocking. And as they continued to pass by, I felt very relieved. Unfortunately, Shiloh was deeply offended, and she was also stubborn and disagreeable. And she said, "What the F did you say to us?" And I felt like, oh, dear God, what the F did you say to him? And sure enough, he wheeled around with these crazed, hellish eyes and this snarling mouth, and he was, spittles flying out, and he's reaching and he's clawing, he's charging at us, and he's saying, "I hate you!" And he's repeating it as he's charging forward. And it's it's emotional now. At the time, it was terrifying. And it was the first, I was like, whoa, this is what it feels like to be hated with such raw sincerity. And if there was ever a time where it was totally clear that a violent confrontation was necessary, this is it, right? This is it. It's game time. So I stepped out into the street to have some terrible, grisly, violent confrontation with this man, and then I was struck by the grace of having been loved. And I was rendered unable to relate with him in that way unless I could know in the depths of my being that he was my enemy, he was my adversary, and I couldn't. That's not who he was. Now, my conscious mind was freaking out while all this was happening, just to be clear. And what kind of stumbled out of me from the depths of the grace of being loved was to say, why do you hate me? Why? Why do you hate me? Because I believed him. I believed that he hated me. I believed he had a reason to hate me. I believed he had a reason to hate. I believed he had been hurt, and I didn't know what it was about. And so how could I do anything that would be helpful and not hurtful if I didn't have a sense? But of course, consciously, I was like, that's the stupidest thing you've ever said, and it may be the last thing you've ever said. But it was bam! He was like he got struck by lightning, and he collapsed in a pile in the middle of the street, and he sobbed, and he heaved. I promise you this happened. It sounds like it's a myth. It probably is a myth in some way. And he just bellowed, "I hate you because you look like you're in love. I hate you because you look like you're loved, and nobody loves me." And I felt like, whoa, if there was ever going to be a deep moment of revelation, I think this is it. And if you're asking yourself in any given moment, what's going on? What is this about? The drama of that moment, the challenge of that moment, the conflict of that moment, I think is happening all the time, every moment, every day, every year, for our whole life. And if we know what being loved is about, we can transform the world, we can be transformed, and we can transform others, just like what happened in that moment. And so, Mike Mason, who wrote some very beautiful books, said, there is no life apart from relationship, which is to say, there is no life apart from the sharing of yourself with another. And this is what is most sublime and most maddening and agonizing about being alive, about life. Not just life, but the sharing of it. Not mere existence, but relationship. And so with that in mind, I think that the theme of the reunion and the importance of us gathering together, right, is to commit ourselves to the working play of shaping the future as a profound act of service in a way that is all about sharing and safeguarding the profoundest treasure of being loved. And you all have an opportunity to do that. Your work is called to become love made visible, feeding the world's deep hunger with your deep gladness. Thank you for the extra time.